I was asked to make these cute colouring bags by the Isaiah 117 house in Monroe County, Tennessee, and this is my take on it. If you're interested in making the totes for the children, please follow along. So I've cut up some jeans, and the size of the fabric, the outer pieces, and they are 11 inches wide and 14 inches high, and there's 2 pieces of those. There's 2 pieces of lining fabric which are the same size, 11 inches wide by 14 inches high, and then there's 2 pieces of fusible fleece, and the fusible fleece is shorter. This is 10 inches wide by 12.5 inches high, and the reason why that is so that it doesn't put bulk into the seams when it's sewn together. For the handles, for the easy handles, I have 2 pieces of 4 inches wide fabric, 18 inches long, and 2 pieces of fusible fleece again, that is 18 inches long, but this is only 1 inch wide, and I'll show you why it's only 1 inch wide shortly. I've got 2 pieces of lining. Now, it doesn't matter what fabric you use. This is muslin. You're not going to see this. This is for the back of the crayon pocket. And these are 3¼ inches high by 11 inches wide. And there's 2 of those. Then you want some scrap pieces of fabric. These are all 3¼ inches high, but they're 2.5 inches wide. And you need 10 scrap pieces that size. And then I've got some smaller scraps, again 3¼ inches high, but these are just 1¼ inches wide. To do the contrasting handle, if you want that option, is the denim, which is 2 inches wide, again 18 inches long, 2 pieces of that, and 2 pieces of your contrasting fabric, and I like to match it with the lining, and this is 1.5 inches wide by 18 inches long. I'm going to make the 2 different straps to show you. You can do whichever is best for you. You don't have to use fleece, you could use batting, you could use foam, anything to give it a bit of structure, or you could just leave it if you're using a heavy material as well. I'm going to start off with the crayon pockets. The first thing I'm going to do is sew these together, right sides together. So I'll sew that 1/4 inch seam, then I'll sew that 1/4 inch seam, 1/4 inch seam, and so on along both of those 2. I've decided to use green thread, and I've set my needle to 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to just flatten the seam, and now I want to press all the seams open to reduce the bulk. All the seams are pressed open. Now take the pocket back, and as you can see, it's smaller. So you can mark your centres of both fabrics and then match up those centre marks, or you could just eyeball it. So matching up your centre marks and pin that in place. Sew that down 1/4 inch seam. I want to press this over on that seam. Make sure I roll the outer to the inside so that you can't see any of the lining on the front. So roll your seam over and give that a good press. And this is why we open the seams when we're joining the fabric, so that there's not a lot of bulk. And if you look on the back, it's just rolled over a little bit so that you can't see the lining on the outside. And we're going to repeat the same for the second one. Take your lining fabric, and on the wrong side of the fabric, 1/2 inch up from the bottom, you want to centre fusible fleece. Now make sure that the bobbly side, which is the glue side, is down. Top stitch 1/8 of an inch. So set those aside. Now take handles and fold them in half, wrong sides together, down the length. Open out the handle and bring in the raw edges to that centre fold and give it a press. And then fold that in half again and give it a press. What you will have is a piece of fabric that is folded up with the raw edges in the centre. Now I want to open that out and put the 1 inch strip on the one piece and press that down. So fold it back in half and in half again, so that you've got the wadding in the one section. You only need the one piece. We'll clip that down. Repeat the same for the second piece, and then we're going to go over to the machine, sew down the open edge and then sew along the folded edge as well. I'm going to trim off the edges to make sure that they're even. And that's one way of making straps. Another way of making the straps, which is the way I like, you don't need interfacing on this one, but we're going to do the same as far as ironing. Press in half all the way down the length, open out and bring the raw edges in and press again, just as if you was making a binding. But we're not going to fold that in half again, we're just leaving the raw edges in the centre, and we're going to do exactly the same for the outer pieces. So when you've pressed them, bring the raw edges together and place one over the top of the other, and you will have about 1/8 of an inch overlap going down the handle. We take this over to the machine and top stitch down both sides of that strap, bringing those two pieces together, and then we'll repeat for the second piece. But I'm going to run that guide on the inside fabric, not the denim. I'm going to trim off the edges to make sure that they're even. That's how I prefer to do my straps. and there's a second set. So you decide on which way you want to do them. Either way is fine, they both work. And they end up 1 inch wide, whichever way you do them. Take the front outer piece and measure up 1 1/4 inches from the bottom edge and draw a line. And find the centre. Take one of the crayon pockets and find the centre, marking the bottom open raw edge on the lining side. With right sides facing, match up the centre marks, level the fabric along the drawn line and pin in place. I'm going to stitch that down 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now I want to flip that up and give it a good finger press. You can press it with an iron if you want, and top stitch that down. And now we're going to stitch down on those seams. We're not going to bother with these side edges because those will be in our seam allowance. We're just going to stitch down in between each fabric, making sure that you'd back stitch on the top. I'm just going to do it twice. And I'll trim all these little bits off, but you have individual pockets. The outside edges are open. And we're going to repeat that again for the second row. So I'm just going to mark a guide. We want the second row to be at least 1/2 inch above those. So that's 1 inch. So we want 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches. So that line is 1.5 inches from the top of this, and we're going to mark the centre of that line again, exactly as we did before. And take our second one and do exactly the same, mark the centre. And match up those centre marks. Pin that all down, and we're going to repeat exactly the same as what we just did for the first pocket. Now I've finished the second row of crayons pockets, but it's a little bit close there for my liking. So next time I'm going to draw a 2-inch line from the top of this one, which will give it a little bit extra. So allow 2 inches there rather than 1.5. Now we're going to mark the handles. So find your centres. Take your handles with your right sides facing down. So 2 inches out from the centre mark. Line your handles up with those marks. And repeat the same for this one. we're just going to go and baste those to hold them down. Take your 2 outer pieces, line up. I'm just going to line up my handles to make sure they're in line. They should be anyway, if we've done it right. And I'm going to pin down and we're going to sew down and up using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. You can draw your 1/2 inch seam allowance if it's easier for you. And that way you can have nice straight edges. So just follow that drawn line all the way around, back stitching at each end. So back stitch at both ends, and I'm just sewing on that drawn line. When you get to the corner, make sure your needle is pointing down. First thing I'm going to do is just check it before I trim the salvages. Now, as you can see, you can't, the small bits of fabric we put on the end, we probably didn't really need to put those on. Just check that our book fits. Hopefully it does. Yep. Cool. I'm happy with that, so now I'm going to flip that back out. Right, wrong side out. So trim off these bits. Trim the corners at a diagonal without cutting the stitches. Now we need to work on the lining, so we'll set the outer away and we'll repeat exactly the same for the lining. So making sure that your lining is the right way round, so you've got the larger gap at the top and the smaller one at the bottom. And we're going to do exactly the same. We're going to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance, which will be, this should be 1/2 inch if you've measured it right. And we're going to do exactly the same, so all the way around those. Make sure you leave an opening in your lining. For the lining, we're going to press open these seams. Trim the corners just like we did on the outer. Flip your lining right side out and place it inside your bag, tucking down your handles one either side, and match up your side seams. I like to put clips where my handles are, and then one in the centre, and do the same the other side. Now I'm going to flip this so that the lining is on the outside, and the reason I'm doing that, so I'm going to sew along that inch line all the way around that top edge. Now if your table of your sewing machine doesn't come off, you want to have your lining on the inside and sew it this way. Because mine comes off, I've got my lining on the outside and I'm going to slip it over and sew it this way. Either way will work, and I'm just sewing on that 1 inch mark. If you want your lining and your outer to stay together when it's right side out, I'm going to show you a trick. So separate the 2 pieces and bring the 2 bottom pieces together. Now remember, we've got the opening here, so we have to be careful. I'm just going to go and sew about 1 inch within the seam allowance, sewing all the pieces together, the outer and the inner. So all I've done is secured the 2 bottom pieces of the bag. Flip the bag right sides out. You can't pull it all the way out because it's joined. So now we need to fold in the raw edges of the open seam. And sew that closed, making sure we only go through the lining. We are not catching the outer fabric, so pull the outer fabric completely out of the way. So I've sewn up that open seam. Now flip your bag right way out. And that way your outer and your lining are attached. And we're just going top stitch all the way around the edge of the bag. I'm going to start on the side seam. I'm not using my stitch in the ditch foot this time. I'm running the edge of the part of this foot along the edge here where I can see. Turning my stitch up to a 3. And when I get to the straps, I'm going to sew backwards and forwards just a couple of times. And there we have a finished bag. It will fit a colouring book in there, and then crayons. A cute bag for the kids at Isaiah 117 house. If you want to make them, grab some old jeans from the thrift store and get some scrap fabrics, and you're away, and that'll make the child happy. The finished bag size measures 9.5 inches by 12 inches.